Prishtina means a whole lot to me. And I'll get a lot more into that here in a minute. So you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This was credited to Jim Ron, but for me, it's credited to my parents. It's something they've told me time and again. From the time I could remember anything, it's always been, make sure you're hanging out with, people that are going to school. Make sure you're hanging out with people that are, doing this, that, and the other, because you'll learn from them, and then hopefully, your circle of people will help you kind of get to that next level. Let's see. Let me do this. So just to touch back on what I started with, I'm originally from Pristina. I moved out here in '99, and I'm not going to bore you with the story of why we moved out here, because I think most of you, if not all, have gone through the same stuff I've gone through. But I moved to a city, to Detroit, to a city that now I hold really close to my heart. Moving from here, you move from here to a new city. It's not the easiest thing to do, but Detroit became my new home really, really fast, and it took the place of, I don't want to say it took the place of Pristina, but it took a place alongside Pristina really fast for me. And when you move to a new country, and we had some family that helped us out, but the first thing you want to do is you want to make the most amount of money, because my parents did whatever they could to put us through school, and it's all stuff that a typical immigrant goes through. But because of the type of jobs they were doing, and because everybody around us seemed to have more money than we did, money became the center of my life. Horrible thing to do, but that was my truth at the time. And everything I did, every job I took, every business I thought of, the first thing I thought of was, how do I make the most amount of money? My opinion today, totally the wrong thing to do. So as time went on, I kept looking at my, because you look at the people closest to you, I kept looking at my parents, and when we moved to U.S., they didn't move us into a city where expenses were low and where schools weren't good to make the most amount of money. They actually moved to a city where expenses were incredibly high, especially for an immigrant family, but their goal was, their goal in life was, we're going to put our kids in the best possible place to get the best possible education, to surround them by the best people, because they believed that was what was more important than money. So as time went on, I kept thinking, I keep chasing money, but I'm really not making it. I keep chasing it. I'm getting paid $10 an hour. I get this job that pays me $12. I go to that. Next thing you know, I finally get into this real estate thing, and it's fun and all, and I get this new job that pays me a little more. And finally, I got a job in Detroit to work for an organization, and more specifically, a guy that I have a ton of respect for, a guy that I hopefully I aspire to be someday, and his name is Dan Gilbert. Most of you probably don't know who this guy is. He's a guy that owns a ton of businesses, has made a whole lot of money not chasing money. So, when I got this job in Detroit finally to work for his real estate company, the company's goal was not, we're going to buy the most buildings, we're going to flip the most buildings, and we're going to generate the most revenue. Their goal was, we're going to buy the most buildings, bring in the most amount of companies to Detroit, because that is what's going to make this city great, and money will follow. So in other words, money follows, it doesn't lead. And that's something that they lived by. And then that kind of got me to stop and think, what am I doing with my life? I keep chasing money. I keep getting into these new, industries and businesses that are doing somewhat okay. Who do I want to be? If I died today, who do I want to be remembered as? If I passed out today, I'm gone. Am I going to be remembered as the guy that chased a few dollars but never really made a difference on anything he did? Or am I going to be the guy that believed in something bigger, did something bigger? And I think the slide, I kind of tried to encompass where my thoughts were at the time. And do I want to be known as the leader? Do I want to be known as a money chaser? Do I want to be known as the guy that is full of passion for everything he does? And then that kind of got me to a point where I was like, I need to find what I'm passionate about. I need to find that one thing that I could do day in and night out and not feel like I'm working, but feel but feel like I'm doing something more. And then this idea of this company, Rocket Fiber, came along with my two partners, and we kept thinking, what can we do for Detroit? Detroit had changed my life, it changed my family's life, and similar with my two other partners, we said, what can we do to help the city get back on track? You know, we work every day, we show up to work, at 8, we leave at 5, 6, 7, whatever, but could we do something more than just work for somebody? And then we saw what Google Fiber, so Google had this idea of building this brand new internet company that on average delivers internet that on average is 100 times faster than what you typically get in America today. And we said we could do something similar. Then we started digging into it, and very fast we realized that Google had no interest in coming to Detroit. And I think of Detroit, I think of Pristina, and I can't think of another two cities that are more alike. Talk about corruption, talk about problems with politics and our leaders and so on. We had the same issue in Detroit, but people decided to get up and say, you know what, we're going to make a change. And I know we hear this word change all the time, but really it's up to us, and it starts with that group of 5 I talked about, and then that group becomes 10 and so on. So with, in my case, it was 3 of us, and it was, we went to Google, we actually met with the CEO of Google Fiber, and his response was, Detroit is great and all, but not really. We got plenty of other cities. U.S. is big enough. We're going to go there. And then we came back to Detroit and we said, it's up to us to make this happen. We're either going to do this and leave a legacy behind that actually changes lives, or we're going to sit back and wait for somebody else to pick up and go. And Dan Gilbert, a guy I mentioned earlier, he was doing a ton. We couldn't expect him to pick one more thing. So it quickly turned into this idea of, so we have a great idea. Let's go figure this out. None of us had ever built an internet company in our lives. It's not the easiest thing to do, by the way. And we kept talking to a bunch of different people, and we heard everything from, hey, did you ever work for an internet company, internet provider, or TV provider, or a cable provider? We said no. I said, well, the idea is cool, but you'll never get there. You talk to other people. They're like, hey, you guys are great. You're passionate. It's sweet, but I really wouldn't put my money behind you. Kept going back to the drawing board, and then we knew that if we got in front of Dan, who was passionate about the city, who we believed was as passionate about the city as we were, and he was showing it, that we knew that if we got in front of him, we would get what we needed. And at no point, mind you, at no point in time did we ever think, if we start Rocket Fiber, we're going to invest, $10, and we're going to get a return of 5, and it's going to be great, and so on and so forth. We totally stopped thinking about the money part of it. We thought about, hey, how much money do we need to make it happen, of course, but it was never about building Rocket Fiber to become millionaires. And, again, it goes along with this. The harder we worked on Rocket Fiber, the more we realized how passionate we were about this thing, the more we started seeing what it could do for a city, because we saw what Google was doing in Kansas City. This could literally change Detroit. You're building a brand new infrastructure to bring more people in. And then as time went on, and we started building this thing, we finally made it in front of Dan. And we were right. The guy was he couldn't believe that he had 3 guys in front of him who had this idea that had never done it, but to him it was a no-brainer, while a lot of people that we had been talking to up to that point kept giving us every single reason why this did not make sense to do. So we got in front of Dan, we pitched him the idea, didn't talk about the money, we pitched him on what this could do for the city, and what the change that it could make for the city. And then we started briefly talking about, hey, we're going to do this for Detroit because we love the city, and then we'll continue to expand. And mind you, the telecom industry in U.S. is the worst. I don't know what to compare it to. I'll compare it to the government of Kosovar, because that's kind of what I hear all the time, and I'm not living it. But it's literally like that. You don't get responses. It's horrible. So we decided that we're going to enter this industry that is extremely competitive to try and build this thing. And once we went through our presentation, talked to Dan, he's like, how much money do you need? I said, $31 million. Okay, here's your $31 million, go do this thing. It's literally that simple. And yes, there's checks and balances and there's boards and all that other good stuff, but it proved the point that, you have to stop, you have to think of something bigger than just money, and then money will just come. And I know it sounds easier than done, or easier said than done, but that's how my life has worked. And to go back to for anybody who's an entrepreneur or who has an idea, to build a new company or whatnot. I found this graph, and I thought it was like the greatest thing because it really showed what an entrepreneur's life is. And you have this idea, and you go, hey, it's the greatest thing in the world. I'm going to start working on it. Then like halfway down as you're going, you're like, oh wow, I got to go raise $500,000 or whatever the case is. And you go, well, this is crazy hard. Like, what am I doing here? So you raise some money, and this is, by the way, this is how my life has worked. In Rocket Fiber, in Reozom, in Giraffe, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with here. We start working on it, and boom, like you have your ups and downs. But if you want to aspire for the positive slope, and if you're getting the positive slope, then you're on your way there. And again, it's just keep the mission in mind. I can't say this enough, and this is really one of the reasons I was excited to get up here and talk because. I look at Rocket Fiber, and we're building this thing because our mission is not money. Our mission is building the best possible infrastructure that helps Detroit get back on the map, and then more importantly, keeps on expanding and helps America because that's really like what we're passionate about is giving back. And then I look at other companies that I've been involved with. I don't get involved in anything that does not have a passion that is simple enough and that has nothing to do with money. Money will come. Like I'm not worried about it. It'll just come. And then I look at for a company that I'm involved with, and that you guys may know here, and it's Giraffe and Giraffa's mission, and my partner there, and my partners there, I should say, and the guy that came up with the idea, and I'm not going to mention his name just because this is not a marketing thing here, but he started Giraffe because he wanted to change the way that Albanians use the internet. I mean, literally, we started this thing, and we're building it because Google is not paying attention to Kosovo, and I've kind of become known as the guy that likes to go like against Google in a weird way because we got Rocket Fiber going against Google Fiber. People look at it like that. Then you got Giraffe here who's like Google is not paying enough attention to us, so we're going to just build our own thing. And then getting a little more into just philosophy of business. So you've raised your money, you're building a business, and the first thing that comes to mind typically that I see is who's going to be the CEO? Who's going to be the CFO? Oh, am I going to get the co-founder title, or who do I hire? And like all that stuff comes with the business, but like think of culture. So when you have this great idea and you start building it, like forget all titles. And this is just how my life has worked. This is my advice. Don't have to take it. I'm just giving it because I'm extremely passionate about it. But don't worry about who gets what title, because if you're spending all that energy on titles. And what the benefits are, what the financials are, then you're not spending enough time on building your company. And if you're working with those kind of people, just stop work. Like don't work. Like go find another partner because you're not going to get there, in my opinion. So with everything that I'm involved with, our first thing that we sit and do with all of my partners is how do we what kind of culture do we want to build? And then one thing that I really want to touch on also that I think is very important. So I'm involved in all these various different things. And the thing that I kept hearing from everybody, including people in my very close circle, was you keep on working this hard, you keep on getting involved in all these different things, and you're going to lose people that are really close to you. And it has, for me, it's been totally different. I was told, don't do business with family. Every business I'm in is with my brother, and he works perfectly fine. Because we have this mission that's above everything we do. And then I was told that you keep working this hard, and your wife is going to leave you. You're crazy. You're never home. You're always working. And she's done it. Well, no, she hasn't, actually. She's right here. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is don't listen to all the naysayers. If you're really passionate about it, if you got a mission to do something great, just go do it, because everything else will work itself out. It always does. And then something that is again, very, as time goes on, that I start to believe even more on is there's no outside force that's going to solve our problems. And this is something I've been here since yesterday, and this is something that I hear quite a bit here, and it bothers me, and I really am not trying to sound like this guy who, hey, like everything works out, because it doesn't, but I keep hearing a lot of excuses on around me, really, since yesterday. It's like, yeah, things are like, we started this thing here, but it's not working because this, that, or the other. Like, it's up to us right here. Like, if this group in this room right now, today, like literally, if we sat here for the next hour after this event is done and said, hey, we're going to sit together, we're going to find the one thing that will make Prishtina great and then expand from there, I guarantee you we could literally change this country. That's like that's what I believe in. That's how my life has worked. And I encourage you to just not stop thinking that U.S. is going to come solve our problems. Stop thinking that somebody on the outside is going to come solve our problems. Let's just do it ourselves. And with that, I'm a strong believer that opportunity is everywhere around us, whether you're in Kosovo, whether you're in U.S., and I do understand that U.S. does provide more opportunities than Kosovo does, but it's up to us to change that. And I'll end with the opportunity is yours. It's all around you. Let's just find it, grab it, and take it home.